Bernd Raffelhüschen. He's an economist in Freiburg, and he said that the last refugee immigration wave will cost about 17 billion euro per year in Germany. Even if the immigrants are integrated within 6 years into the labor market, the additional long-term costs will be around 900 billion euro. 900 billion euro. It's incredibly high. If qualification integration would need more time, the costs will be considerably higher. Another economist from Kiel, he calculated costs of 55 billion per year. Others, like Legrain, who is paid by a refugee support organization, came to more positive results. For past immigrants, Hans-Werner Sinn from Munich, also very highly respected economist in Germany, he has calculated costs of about 1,800 euro per year. And Holger Bonin, economist from Mannheim, he calculated that the past immigration, not the now, but the past immigration costs per life an immigrant about 79,000 euro per life, compared to 3,000 euro per life for a native. Maybe this sounds strange for you. How could it be always negative? It is negative because we are increasing death from generation to generation. That means immigrants show a 25 times higher, greater loss compared to natives. And even in Canada, you have a negative effects of immigration. Canada and in Germany, if you look at the newspapers and so on, it's always seen as a positive example how to deal with immigration. Oh, look at Canada, how they are doing this so well. But it's not done well, because also in Canada, the effects are negative. One average immigrant costs per year $6,000, and altogether, depending on the number of immigrants, costs per year 24 billion or 16 billion Canadian dollar. And these calculations did not include very important costs. The costs of crime are really, really high. I think many of you will know the calculations, how much costs, for example, a murder or a rape. Economists have tried to calculate the costs of crime, and these are all not included in the former studies. Dealing with crime, we have one problem. Byron wrote, he has written a book about diversity effects, has described it 6 years ago, that in reading through the literature on crime among immigrants, some from reputable sources and others more anecdotal, one is struck by the absence of sound government statistics. There are no really good governmental official statistics. This is still today the case. There are many somewhat hidden single reports, but usually the ethnic or religious background is not mentioned. And of course, two qualifications. Immigrants are not identical to different immigrants from different countries. There are huge differences. And of course, men show much more crime than women, and younger men much more than older men. And especially risk group seems to be immigrants from a certain geographical, cultural background. This is an opaque term. We want to continue this conference also in the next years, so I have chosen this term. Kierkegaard, this is not a philosopher, this is a young Danish linguist who has given up to study linguistics. He has done some studies to predict the crime level of individual immigrants in different countries, and he's shown that this geographical cultural background is predictive for crime. It's similar predictive to home country IQ, but more predictive than home country GDP. And the similar level you have for the Netherlands. So the cultural or geographic effects are robust across countries and controls. And a second study from Noah Cowell. Noah Cowell is a young sociologist from Oxford. He has tried to predict terrorism level in different Western countries. And the terrorism level in Western countries is higher the more persons you have of a group with a certain geographical background. And this is a very robust results. Also integrating controls like GDP. And this is exactly what have said the East European politicians like Václav Klaus or Viktor Orban, who said, no, we do not want these immigrants because we do not want to have certain aspects which are not beneficial for our societies. One example from German-speaking countries: sexual assault in public swimming pools. There's nothing new under the sun. This was first reported from a similar group in the 60s in Paris from Spiegel. Spiegel is the most important German news magazine. In 50 years ago you found these things, but today it's really difficult to find such reports. What they have written 50 years ago: Parisian women get spoiled babbling in pools. Where there is paddling a single bikini, she is shortly encircled above and below water by, this term we would not use today anymore, brownish swimmers. 10 or 20 Algerian hands pull their fasteners or rob her the textile. Consequence: the bathing girls avoid the pools and also their male friends. Spirited pool attendants who venture to step in towards freebooters, also who try to control them, were afterward threatened by hostile routes. Parisian police was set to the task to cope with a colony of 200,000 Algerians, which represents only 3% of the capital's population, but which is responsible for 32% of homicides, 39% of car thefts, and 58% of theft using firearms. What is not here written, you need to consider age differences and sex differences. Also, if there are more male young Algerians compared to French, this is not done here. But I assume, and still today, even if you do this, you come to higher rates. We have this was written 50 years ago. We have the similar problem today in Germany, Austria, and other countries. What is not written here in this report is we have today also problems with terrorism and some psychopathical violence I will later shortly mention. You cannot find this in traditional German newspapers, but there are privately organized news blogs or people, for example, this site, Einzelfall Map, run by 4 women and 1 man who count every, for example here, swimbad occurrence, swimming pool occurrence. One example from one day in the summer, on 21st of July, we had sexual assaults in Lower Saxony, in Hesse, in Baden-Württemberg, in Bavaria. We had them in North Rhine-Westphalia, we had them also in Austria. We have also sexual abuse on slides and showers in changing rooms, violence against other guests, not following the instruction of pool supervisors. When I was in summer in West Germany in a swimming pool, I have seen first time in my life that there is security service. I asked one of my uncles, he will become 80 years this year. He lived in 4 different German-speaking countries. He lived in National Socialist Deutsche Reich. He lived in Socialist Eastern Germany. He lived in Western Germany, and he is living now since 40 years in Austria. He lived in 3 different political systems, 4 different German-speaking countries, and he had made so many trips when he was younger in his life to all over the world. And I asked him, have you ever seen in your life security service in the swimming pool? He said to me, no. He has never seen in his life anywhere security service. And these are also additional costs we have to add to the costs before mentioned. Further examples: violence in sports. Here also many times mad violence, like done by Zinedine Zidane in his fast game and the final game of the Capo Mundial, I don't know what to say in English. Or you have pathological violence against own wife, against own children, against relatives. For example, in 2014, an Afghan dentist killed in religious delusion his own family. You have rape and group sexual assault, Cologne, Stockholm, riots, France, Sweden, England. And you have increasing violence against Jews in Belgium and France, Sweden, starting also in Germany. And this leads to the Jews decamp for Israel. More and more Jews are going to Israel. These were special effects of a special kind of immigration, but you have also effects of diversity. I will conclude, I will be ready in 6-7 minutes. we have also diversity effects independent of the special characteristics of the immigrants. The ability level of the natives is somewhat affected by diversity, but the ability level of the immigrants is much more affected by diversity. It means the more immigrants you have in a class, the lower will be the average achievement level, average learning level in a school. And this is one important result, that all these negative effects are less serious for the average native, but they are more serious for the just existing immigrants or just for the coming immigrants. The people who mostly benefit of fewer immigrants are the immigrants themselves. Then you have a negative effect on trust. Diversity decreases trust, have a negative impact on economy and society, and diversity reduces the willing for redistribution. Last week I found a result, example for this. I've read that food banks receive less and less support in Germany. The newspapers have written that the food banks who give food away to poor people, the food banks receive less food because of shelf life and competition. But there were no changes in the last 5 to 10 years in shelf life or competition. There was only a change last year in the composition of people who go into the food bank. Now, I don't know the numbers, but I assume about half or a little bit more refugees are going to the food banks. We have also effects on science. We will find more studies on stereotypes, prejudices, racism, and multiculturalism, diversity. We'll have politicization of research, ignoring research coming not to politically wished results, which is frequently labeled as being right, racist, or similar. And if it's something right or racist, it's not true. It's assumed. We'll have more cloud cuckoo land and commissioned research coming to the expected results. One example is research of TENT. TENT is a refugee supportive organization. They found that investing €1 in refugees will have economic benefits. I think this is true. If you invest money in education, in training, human capital training, this will have a positive impact. But then they concluded, we need also anti-discrimination laws, and they concluded that the refugees as a group will have a positive impact on the economy and society. And this last is not true. The first is true. If you invest, you will have usually a positive effect. But the last, that the refugee immigration will have positive impact on society, is certainly not true. We have problems in research. For example, the results of stereotype accuracy research are not read, are not accepted. The average correlation between stereotypes and criteria is about 0.81. There's no social psychological result that is more true than stereotypes. You can predict with stereotypes very good at the group level average behavior of people, or average results of people. And we have a problem in the social sciences, but also in psychology, that the political diversity is less and less reduced, and becoming the political milieu at the university becomes more and more left-wing. We have, for example, in the United States, 14 left-wing psychologists for one right-wing, or 14 liberal for one conservative. We have also effects on media. Media bias produce a biased view. One example from Sweden. Police in Finland have questioned 8 Swedish men following claims a woman was gang raped on a Viking Line ferry in Finnish waters over the weekend. 8 Swedish men had made this. On closer inspection, this was a newspaper, and this was what you can find in newspapers, and this you can find in internet and Gatestone Institute. On close inspection, it turned out that 7 of the 8 suspects were Somalis and 1 was Iraqi. None of them had Swedish citizenship, so they were not even Swedish at that sense. And we have similar occurrences in Germany, for example. There was a story last year that Syrian refugees rescued a member of NPD. NPD is a Nazi following party and Syrian refugees should have rescued him out of his burning car. But bloggers had found out that there are no evidence for this news, and most probably it were other people, bus drivers, who rescued him. Or there was a flood in Germany, and Austrian TV transported refugees to the houses, and they wanted to film how refugees are helping the natives against the flood. Yeah, news produced, which is not true. Today it's not more possible to inform oneself in standard media about certain subjects being inclined to political correctness. So you have to use other information like letters of readers if they are published, or alternative news portals, but you use always to cross-check the information, privately made pages, bloggers, or you need to search for non-PC key terms. Then you will find a totally different reality.